Alright guys, the Chapter 3 update has just got changed, with an upcoming killer scrapped, new quality of life changes, and much more. Let's get into it! So there are many upcoming killers that we have yet to see in Forsaken, with most of them either being announced while some are completely forgotten about. This has been a problem, where certain characters that players are actually looking forward to get pushed aside, while more random additions end up taking their place, like when Nosferatu dropped, which didn't really line up with the roster that people were expecting at the time. Now, with that a hyped-up killer everyone wants to see is King from Combat Initiation. He is a mini-boss with a massive mech, and if he were added into Forsaken, he would have probably been one of the largest killers in the game, potentially even bigger than Sixer. King would have probably used multiple abilities using his mech, similar to how he plays in Combat Initiation, which could have made him one of the most unique killers we've seen so far. But now, we've got some bad news about that. King is no longer coming to Forsaken. This doesn't mean the Combat Initiation collaboration itself is cancelled, though. That's still happening and it will continue, but King specifically has been scrapped. The thing is, Toko announced that King will be getting replaced with a completely different Combat Initiation character instead. With the reason behind this decision was due to the issues and pitfalls that came with implementing King into Forsaken. He would have required a massive amount of work behind the scenes, with Toko mentioning that him being added would require reworking multiple systems, changing internal mechanics, and even creating entirely new maps or map variants just to support his size and gameplay style. That's not something small. It would have taken a huge amount of development time away from other killers and updates. Because of that, the team decided it just wasn't worth it right now. Instead, they're focusing on bringing in a different character from Combat Initiation that can fit into Forsaken more naturally without requiring those major changes. We don't know who that replacement is yet, as they haven't revealed it, but the goal is to make sure the character still represents their original playstyle from Combat Initiation while working properly within Forsaken systems. We could see Vagabond or other bosses in-game, as he relates to Shedletsky and is most likely based on Teleman's avatar, which is Shedletsky's old abandoned account. He would have different sword abilities, and a perfect example of this is Swapsaken's Swordsmaster, so Forsaken already has a base for this character if they wanted to add him. Honestly, this would be a perfect replacement, as people loved Swordsmaster and he could fit right in with the Forsaken lore. So while it's disappointing to see King get scrapped, it does make sense from a development perspective. What other Combat Initiation character do you want to see? With Forsaken, we have seen the same UI throughout the whole game since 2024. This UI hasn't been changed since then, with the shop UI still looking exactly the same with no updates. However, a new shop UI is now coming to the game. Voxov and the Forsaken team are trying to improve functionality and usability by reworking the UI so everything is smoother and more aesthetically pleasing compared to how it looks right now. Most of this is still a work in progress and hasn't been fully fleshed out yet. We have recently seen a new emotes tab with a different design for the shop UI. You can now see the emote in the corner and rotate it to view the full animation played out on your avatar profile. Voxov also held a poll regarding to different designs for the buy buttons. One option was a new red button on the left with a more sketchy feel, while the other was an older blue button on the right with a completely modernized look. A lot of people prefer the red button because it matches Forsaken's design better than the modernized version. We will likely see this UI update later this year. Some players have pointed out that the new design looks similar to the Byte by Night UI. However, Voxov clarified that they did not steal the UI, as it was made by the same person who worked on the UI for both Byte by Night and Forsaken. In fact, this UI was started before Byte by Night was even released, so the comparison isn't entirely accurate. Despite that explanation, some people still claim it is the exact same UI with a simple color swap, essentially a copy and paste job. Hopefully, they lean more into Forsaken's unique style so players stop comparing the two, and the UI aligns better with how Forsaken's art style is evolving. What do you think of this new UI? there was this fan-favorite skin that finally released, which was the Mystic Slasher skin. However, with its release, many people were disappointed with how long the wait was for what ended up being just a reskin of the Combat Initiation Jason skin. This was then followed by some new animation effects that were part of the skin. This outcry led to Isaac saying that they will eventually add something to it, although we don't know exactly what yet. A lot of people wanted at least a chase theme, and as of now, a teaser of one has been posted by Emmy. It is actually a remix of the CI Slasher theme, so it does sound similar. Many people are glad that this has been added, as it makes the skin feel more worth going for, and they are enjoying the chase theme. However, it likely won't be getting anything else custom, as not every skin needs to have fully custom features. There are still other chase themes, like the Cool Kid Milestone chase theme, that haven't been released yet, but we could still see them in a later update. Recently, a lot of polls have been happening in Forsaken, with Toko and others wanting to know what players think about the game and to gather feedback from the community. Some of this has even brought attention back to a killer that was scrapped and hasn't been seen since the early days of Forsaken, Sonic.exe. Sonic.exe was a fan favorite and many people loved seeing him in the game. However, since early stages of Forsaken, he has been removed. This is mainly because he doesn't fit with Forsaken's current roster, and it was along with permission issues. Recently, Toko asked in a poll whether Sonic.exe should return to Forsaken, with many players voting yes since he was such a popular character. However, Toko made it clear that this is not a confirmation of the character's return, nor is it a promise that the result of the poll will decide what happens. Toko also mentioned that if the character were to return, it wouldn't be as the Bloody Hedgehog. Instead, it would come back as something original and reimagined. Because of this, people have started suggesting different concepts for how the killer could look. One idea is Evil Teddy Blockspin, which is based on the Roblox item. Another concept comes from user J3I, who created a copyright-free version of Sonic.exe called Blue Devil. This version has a completely different design, but still keeps some resemblance, like the iconic blue hedgehog hair. These are just a few examples of how the character could be redesigned to fit into Forsaken without running into the same issues again. That way, the character wouldn't end up being scrapped or removed once more. What should the new design of Sonic.exe look like? There was actually supposed to be a collaboration between Forsaken and another asymmetrical horror game called Doomed by Fate. However, things have recently taken a turn. With Doomed by Fate getting into some controversy, it now seems like the Forsaken devs no longer want to associate themselves with the game, at least for the time being. A lot of the content planned for this collaboration has now been scrapped. We've already started to see some of what was being worked on behind the scenes. This includes things like a custom chase theme by Zocarp that was intended for an upcoming skin, which was going to be a new skin called Crew for Cool Kid. This skin was supposed to be the most expensive skin for Cool Kid, even more expensive than Mafioso. It would have included a ton of custom features, such as unique animations between 007 Unseen and Survivors, a completely custom model, its own chase theme, and even an LMS theme specifically designed for Doomed by Fate Survivors and 007 Unseen. This collab could have easily been a massive update, with multiple new skins and features added into the game. Crew Cool Kid wasn't an official finished skin ready to release, it was more of a concept that he and Zocarp were working on together. So Forsaken are switching it up for Chapter 3. Did you expect any of this to happen? Subscribe and hit the bell for more Forsakening it.